How's it, guys? This is Davey FPL, and welcome back to the Deadline with Davey live stream. A little bit earlier for the viewership on the live streams. I'm sorry for that. So if you are in a time zone that's a little bit inconvenient, I do apologize. But unfortunately, the FPL deadlines have been a little bit all over the place right now. Nice to have you guys in the chat, though. As most people are saying, we are doing these 30-minute streams now, which I think are a little bit more impactful. We get through questions really quickly and we kind of go through them without repetition, which I kind of like. This team on the screen here has not had any changes made to it. It's exactly the same as I had in the team selection, and we will be making a live transfer because we do have 2 free transfers, so it doesn't make any sense to not make a transfer. And I'll be talking about that in a little bit. In terms of the chat, we have some usuals from here. We also, the first person in here was Twisted saying, how's it? Also for Optimus Prime here, so thanks for joining us. And then I also saw Gregorian Law saying, how's it, Yellow Blixums or something like that. So thanks for joining in here. I'm pretty sure there's going to be lots of questions about the captaincy this week, maybe between 2 Spurs options, Son and Kane. I'll be touching on that in a little bit, as well as maybe some benching headaches. I see the main question people are pretty much asking is, should they bench their Leeds assets? Should they bench Trent? Should they bench Robbo? There's a lot of questions in there, so if you guys want to drop them in chat, I'll be more than willing to answer them. Bimal saying Nepal, so that's a very insightful thing. Thanks for telling us where you're from. Always enjoy seeing where all of you guys are from around the world. I would also appreciate if you drop the stream a like just to get it out there on that YouTube algorithm that we usually talk about. So I do appreciate that. In terms of the transfer that we're probably going to be doing this week, unfortunately, it's going to be saying goodbye to our boy Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be bringing in Chilwell for him. And then in terms of the second transfer, I know I spoke about getting Vardy in for Raul Jimenez. I just don't know if I'm going to be doing that move this week. I don't know if you guys have noticed from the fixtures, but unfortunately, this week looks a little bit dead. There's some good matchups here, such as Man City versus Liverpool, but from an FPL point of view, that's not really kind of where you want to be getting your FPL points. And there's other options like Leicester Wolves, which I think is going to be quite a boring game. Arsenal Aston Villa as well. I want to bring in Jack Grealish, but I don't think against that Arsenal defense because they're looking quite good. So this week is a little bit of a dead game week, I'm not going to lie, but that doesn't mean that we can't get a green arrow, and I really do hope so. It's reaching the point now where if we don't get a green arrow, we pretty much lost in FPL. So whom to bring in instead of Ryan? So you're probably talking about Matt Ryan. A lot of people are asking there. Domenico's also asking there, did you know about Ryan? Will he play? So I'm pretty sure that Ryan will play. I think that I know you probably could say that he got dropped for the last game week, but I don't think it's a point where it was said that he was dropped. So that's where you kind of manage to keep hold of a player, because that doesn't mean that they were dropped with the intent of kind of putting them on the bench and not having them for the next game week. I think they just gave them maybe a little bit of a break. I know we spoke about that Brighton defense, kind of they were conceding a lot of goals for the amount of shots that they've had against them, which was quite a worrying fact, and that usually points to the goalkeeper simply not being a good shot stopper. However, Matt Ryan has been quite a good shot stopper over the last couple seasons, so I would keep him. I wouldn't be that rushed to take him out, especially because they are playing Burnley this week, who have a really low attacking XG, and all those attacking stats that we always talk about, they're relatively low down there, so there is a good chance of a Brighton clean sheet, which is why a lot of people are looking at bringing in Lamptey even this week. So I don't think I would be that hasty unless there is news that he's going to be dropped for this game week as well, but I think I would give him one more game week. If he doesn't start this game week, you might just have to take it on the chin there, take that 0 points from your goalkeeper, and then you could look at him afterwards. So Mikel saying Jimenez and Sterling is dropping in price. So Sterling, I don't have any money on him. He's currently 11.6. I bought him for 11.5. So even if I sold him now, I wouldn't make any profit. So that one's not too much of a problem. With Raul Jimenez, I think I also bought him at 8.4, 8.5. At the end of the day, the thing with Raul Jimenez that I'm looking at is they do face Southampton in game week 9. And if you look at a player like Vardy, he plays Wolves. That Wolves-Leicester game can go either way there. We don't know what's going to happen. So that one I'm willing to hold him for. And then they play Southampton, whereas Leicester play Liverpool. And I know that's a little bit contradictory because I'm taking out Trent. So obviously I think that they're going to concede in that one. But I think the chance of Wolves getting more goals against Southampton is higher than the chance of Leicester getting goals against the Liverpool defense. I know you might not agree with me on that one, but that's just kind of the mindset I'm going for. So I probably will be keeping Raul Jimenez for these 2 game weeks. and then look at shipping him out. The one player I really want to get rid of is Mitrovic, but as I said, there's a little bit of dead fixtures this week. So if I brought in Ollie Watkins, he plays Arsenal. Arsenal have a good defense. I could look at bringing in Callum Wilson, but Callum Wilson plays Southampton this week. Then he goes and plays Chelsea, and I think he plays Burnley or one of the other teams in 3 game weeks' time that I own a defender of them. So I'm not too keen of having an attacker and a defender versing each other for too many game weeks. So that's why I'm probably just going to keep him. I'm going to ship him eventually. I really don't want to keep him for that much longer. I think he could get something out of West Ham, but I'm not really holding thumbs. But at 5.8 million, that's not the worst decision in the world. If Aston Villa had a better fixture this week, then I definitely would be looking at him. Because that's the thing is I can have him for this week and I can take him out next week. It's not like I'm keeping him forever here. And the nice thing to note as well is that Coleman's actually back from injury. I don't know if he'll play against United, but I think that definitely he'll be back after that international break, which is quite nice because if you look here, Fulham, Leeds, Burnley, I see maybe 2 clean sheets in those 3. So I'm happy that I managed to keep hold of him. So Jake says, so Wilson already played. Yeah, it's one of them. It's one of the teams that I own, I think. So you can just go and look there. I think in the next 4 he plays 3 defenders that I have. Apologies for that if I'm kind of confusing you a little bit there. Kilman or Balbuena? I would go for Balbuena. I just think that the chance of Balbuena getting a clean sheet's higher than of Kilman. That game, I think it's going to be quite a close one. I can honestly see it ending 0-0 or 1-1. I can't really split who's going to win. It can also be a Leicester win or it could be a Wolves win. But I just think that I would rather trust the West Ham defense than the Wolves defense since they are playing Leicester, looking a little bit better. When you're going to hit the wild card, got any game week in mind yet? So the one game week that if I don't use it in game week 16, which is the last game week possible, because of those double game weeks coming up around that time, I am looking at maybe game week 10. Game week 10 is the fixture swing for Man City. It's the fixture swing for Leicester. It's the fixture swing for United as well. So that could be a game week that I use it. But right now, I wasn't too keen on the wild card because, I mean, last game week, I don't know who I would have had differently. Maybe Kane, but that wouldn't have actually turned out better because I still would have lost Raul Jimenez, who did better than him. Actually, no, not Raul Jimenez. I think it was Mitrovic that actually ended up doing better than Kane that week. Risky move not bringing in Kane for West Brom. So it is a risky move, unfortunately. This is just one of those game weeks that I'm going to have to take the bullet because he's going to be the highest owned captain and he's going to be captained by a ton of people. A lot of people own him, but there's no way that I'm going to bring him in without wrecking my squad or using my wild card, and that's a risk I'm willing to take. Considering I have Son, I can captain Son. Son has a potential to do better than Kane. So I'm perfectly happy with kind of taking it. As I said, I'm going to have to take it on the chin, unfortunately. Mitrovic out, Calvert-Lewin in is okay. Yes, 100%. If you're going to bring in Calvert-Lewin, I think especially because James is back, that's a really good move that you can go for. Calvert-Lewin has just been in such good form this season, and Everton overall, I'm expecting them to bounce back after that loss they had. So I think that it's perfectly fine to do that move. If you have a player that you want to, like Calvert-Lewin, then bring him in for Mitrovic. Mitrovic should be a transfer out, in my opinion. I just simply don't have the move that I can see in sight, and I might just give him West Ham to see what he can do. Basically, I don't have any faith in him, but I'm hoping that he does a little bit. Podence or Mapai, I would go for Mapai. If you own Mapai, start him. I think that he'll play this week. Ahmed's also asking it, Mapai or Grealish to play this week. I would go for Mapai. I mean, we've spoken about those defenses that are on the up and coming, and Arsenal's definitely one of them. So I think it's going to be a really tough game for Aston Villa. So that's why I'm not going to bring in Grealish this week if they're playing Arsenal. I'd rather just bank a transfer this week and bring him in next game week and hope that the players I have in my own lineup do better. So I would 100% go for Mapai. I don't know if I'd bring him in, but I definitely would start him if you own him in your squad. Trent or Chilwell? I would go for Chilwell. I think right now, Trent's a little bit of a tough one because these next couple of fixtures are a little bit tough on the defensive side of things. But then after that, he has a really nice run. So what I'm kind of hoping to do is assess the Liverpool defense over these next 4. Maybe Wolves, I could bring him in before that. But after that, maybe look at bringing Trent back in. This is not really a permanent move. It could be permanent if that Liverpool defense doesn't do anything. But I'm really willing to lose him for the next 3 or 4 and then bring in a Chelsea defender who's performing better and from a clean sheet potential has a better clean sheet chance and then maybe spread the budget a little bit, especially with these nice fixture swings that are coming up. We love a live transfer, David says. Kevin. So we will be making a live transfer. Unfortunately, it's not going to be 2 this week, but it will be 1. So I'm surprised no one's asking if you own Kane and Son, who should you be captaining? Because I thought that would be kind of a talking point that we would be going through a lot, but no one seems to be asking that. So hopefully the captaincy decision is intact for you guys this week, and it's quite an easy one. Any thoughts on Mitrovic to Wilson? So I was considering Wilson, but as I said earlier, I just don't know. I think he's a great shot to go for, but he faces... So I'll bring in a Chelsea option. I'm going to bring in Chilwell this week. He faces Southampton this week. I have Walker-Peters. I'll then have Chilwell, and then also have Martinez for Aston Villa. So in the next 4 fixtures, he plays 3 of my defenders, which I'm not too keen about on that one. So that's the only reason why I'm kind of not bringing him in, but he could definitely be a consideration in a little bit, especially for this West Bromwich Albion game in Game Week 12, and he is still quite cheap. So I think that I'm willing to hold maybe Mitrovic for 1 more game week, and we could always just bring in Callum Wilson next game week. That Crystal Palace game... Well, not Crystal Palace, apologies. A Southampton game for Newcastle. I'm kind of forced into playing Walker-Peters because I'd rather play him against Newcastle than play a Coleman against United. So that's why I've kind of gone for it. I could maybe hedge the bets there and play an attacker from Newcastle and a defender from Southampton, but I just kind of don't want to make that transfer this week. But he is still a shot. So if you don't want to make other moves, you want to keep Trent, and you have the money for it, I definitely would look at Mitrovic to Wilson. I think he's a good option. Cresswell or Chilwell. So Max, right now, I think that Chilwell is a little bit clear. I think that's kind of a no-brainer a little bit because he is more expensive. So he has a better attacking and defensive threat. But Cresswell's still a great shot to go for. I think he will be fit. I know that he is currently flagged. I think that flag might have been taken away. But David Moyes came out and said that he should be fine for the weekend. If you want to bring in Cresswell, I don't think there's too much risk in there. But also like Masuaku if you are considering a West Ham option. Justin or Taylor. So Justin or Taylor is a little bit more of a tough decision. I probably would lean a little bit more towards Justin in that case because Burnley defensively haven't been up to scratch and Brighton are a really attacking side, whereas that Leicester-Wolves game could be quite close as both sides, defensively they're not 100%, but they are better than the Burnley-Brighton defenses. So I probably would lean a little bit more towards Justin in that case. I have 2 attacking Liverpool defenders, so you're probably talking about Robertson and Trent in that case. What I would probably do is I would take one of them out, depending on your budget. If you need budget, then take out Trent. But otherwise, if you're willing to just forgo that 0.5 million, then maybe take out Robertson. I do think Robertson looks better right now, but I think over the rest of the season, there will be a regression of the stats there, and Trent will come up. I mean, he's bound to score one of those free kicks that he always has soon. Okay, Todd Carlson saying, make the transfers, please. So I will make the transfers there. Todd, apologies if you were getting a little bit upset there because I was taking my time. But this is going to be the transfer. So we're going to be taking Trent out. We're going to be bringing Chilwell in. I will confirm it there. You see 0 points. So I'm confirming it there. So I hope you're happy there, Todd. So if you need to make your way, you can now because I have made the moves. United could still lose though, mate. Maybe you'd be better off playing Coleman. So Akash says that. That's probably true, but I'm always one of those players that if it's a top 6 side, I never play a defender against them. It's just how I always go. So I know what you're saying there. Off current form, they're not looking that great, but they could pull off an RB Leipzig like they beat them 5-0 or whatever, and they could do that against Everton. You never know. But I'm definitely happy that I've kept hold of Coleman. So Evan Smith saying, hey man, Cancelo in, Trent out, or Mitrovic out for Wilson this week. I would probably go for Mitrovic to Wilson. The thing with Man City is I am considering Cancelo, but not for these opening 2 game weeks. They play Liverpool, then they play Spurs. And I mean, with the form that Spurs are in, you kind of banking on them scoring against Man City. And Liverpool, that game could go either way. So definitely from game week 10. But I think from a short-term move that I'm looking at this game week, I definitely would do the Wilson move rather. Thoughts on Bamford? So Bamford's also a good shot. That could be a move that I did for Mitrovic. They just faced Crystal Palace, and then Leeds' fixtures are always weird. They never seem to be good. They're probably going to be hitting a nice run of form or fixtures in the next couple. But when I looked at their fixtures when I was considering transfers, they still don't look that great. The nice thing about Leeds, though, is that they're going to be attacking against any side. So you don't really have to worry about them facing tougher opposition, because against the Liverpools, against the Man Cities, they're always going to play quite attacking football, so you can always get a return. West Ham forwards, so 100% if Antonio was fit for this game week, I would be captaining, or not captaining him, I would be bringing him in. Sorry for kind of jumping the gun there. I wouldn't be captaining him. I would be bringing him in for Mitrovic. But the thing with Antonio is he's a little bit of an injury scare now. I'm going to miss this game week, and that's kind of the plump fixture. If I was going to bring him in, it would be for this game week as they face a nice Fulham opponent. But with them, you could go for Halle or Halle. Apologies for that. But I don't know if I'd be looking at the West Ham forwards that much. I think Antonio was pretty much where it would be. I was going to ask if I should captain Kane or Son. As of now, I'm going for Son because I listened to a random number generator. Who is the better choice, Son or Kane, says Manash. So, Manash, just for you, after I answer the super chat, Havertz out, who in, Ziyech or James Rodriguez? I would go for Ziyech in your case. Mr. Radu, I would go for Ziyech 100%. Because if Havertz is out, there's a chance that kind of Ziyech plays in that mid slot, that cam slot, which I think could be quite fortuitous. Okay, so let's talk about the captaincy because maybe some people would have some questions. Before that, we got twisted here saying Mitro to Wilson or Mitchell to Bellerin / Kufal. I would probably do the Mitchell transfer unless you have defenders that can play. If you don't have a defense or like a good bench, then I would do the Mitchell transfer. The Mitro to Wilson transfer, it could be good, but the thing is Mitrovic could still do well. Whereas with Mitchell, he's out for this game week. You don't know if he's going to be coming back. So I would rather go for Bellerin or Kufal. In terms of those two, I might lean a little bit more towards Bellerin because I just think that from a defensive point of view, they might be a little bit more assured than West Ham, but the fixtures definitely are on West Ham's side. So if you want to go for both those options are kind of good, but I think I would lean a little bit more towards the Mitchell out. Okay, so let's talk about transfer. And what I was going to do for the captaincy is I was going to explain kind of why people are willing to captain Son over Kane this week if you own both of them. So my personal opinion is if you own both Son and Kane, I would go for Kane. We saw last game week with what happened with that penalty. He just needs one penalty to get a return, where Son can sometimes be a little bit hit or miss. Unfortunately, last game week when we did end up captaining him, he was a misser. He's got 11, 13, and 18 in the last 4, so that looks quite good. So I definitely would go for Kane. That's my personal opinion. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at the stats for you guys and show you why some people are considering Son. So the bad cabs first asking here, should I transfer Ramsdale out for Mendy? I probably would do that move if there's no other fires to put on your team. That definitely could be a move, especially because you're looking at a player that you could have as a season keeper. Apologies for the tautology or whatever you call it, but he is a season keeper in your goalkeeper department that you can have for the rest of the season that should do well. Okay, so what I want you to do is go to Fantasy Football Hub here, and I'm going to compare Kane and I'm going to compare Heung-min Son. So the thing is, this is kind of why people are considering captaining Kane and Son or which to go for. So if you look at home form, Kane is 100% the better option to look at. I mean, just look at these stats here for Kane. XG, big chance of shots in the box, is absolutely demolishing Son. But the interesting thing is when we take it to away form, Heung-min Son's actually performing better than Kane. And that's why some people are considering the Son transfer instead of the Kane transfer, because as you see here, it's West Bromwich Albion away. So it is an away game which favors Son. But I'm in the kind of boat where this is similar to the Mane-Salah debate, where apparently Mane's better away and Salah's better at home. I just think that they're both good players, and it just comes to be a coincidence on that fixture. I mean, both players I think will do well against West Bromwich Albion, but I just wanted to explain, when you look at the stats actually favor Son, but I'm going against the stats, and what I say is if you have Kane and Son, captain Kane, because that penalty threat is just too much for me this season. So hopefully that helped. Please say if you enjoyed that. I don't know if people actually enjoy looking at stats or not. Arda saying, hey mate, are you banking your other transfers? I'm banking it. I've made one transfer here. I had 2. So I'm going into the international break with 2 free transfers, which in FPL, they usually say that's a good move to do, is have 2 free transfers for the international break, as players might come back, especially in these times. They might have some positive tests or whatever, and then you want to make some changes. But right now, I think this game week's going to be pretty dead, so that's why I don't want to use my other free transfer. James Ward-Prowse for Podence, that could be a move. I would do that move kind of if you don't have anything, any other fires to put out, because I still think that Podence could do something against Leicester, but it is a nice fixture for Southampton, and James Ward-Prowse looks quite good. What are you going to do with Podence? So I'm going to keep Podence this week and probably next game week. If he's benched this game week, I don't really mind because right now what happens with Wolves is they don't do anything for about 60 minutes, then they bring on their subs and then they score. So maybe Podence, if he even starts off the bench, he could do quite well. But I think with Wolves, I'm going to keep them for that Southampton fixture because I think that's quite a nice fixture. And they've been a little bit consistent for me. One of Podence or Jimenez has scored in the last 3 for me. So they're kind of sharing the points. But as long as one of them scores, I'm pretty happy. What are your thoughts on the Kane triple captain? So personally, if you guys have known me for the last couple seasons, I always kind of advocate using the triple captain in a double game week. The thing is we're going to have more than one double game week, so you can still use a bench boost and a triple captain in separate game weeks, but I always favor a double game week just because there's more chance of them scoring. If there was a fixture, however, to captain or triple captain a player, it would be West Bromwich Albion. Now this isn't a home fixture, so that could be a little bit like sit you on the fence a little bit there, because usually a home fixture is better for a player, but if you look at Sonny's away form is better, so it's a tough one. I would probably not use my triple captain, as I just kind of always look at the double game weeks. But if you really want to do it, I can understand why you want to do it. And I basically, I won't tell you not to, but I generally, my personal opinion is I rather keep it for the double game weeks. I think Optimus Prime said that Basuma's actually got a good fixture, and that is true. On a lot of the prediction FPL websites, they say that Basuma has a better chance of points than some of my other players, so that's quite an interesting one to go by, but I'm pretty much never going to play Basuma unless I've got some injuries. He might come off the bench, but I don't know if he'll do that much. For a 4.5, he actually has quite good stats, though. Bench Dallas or Robbo. I think if you own Robertson and you own Trent Alexander-Arnold, you should 100% play them. If they're in your squads, you play them because they just have that higher ceiling than other options. You just kind of don't want to be in the boat of you would rather bench Dallas and him return than bench Robbo and him return, because that ownership is just so much higher on the Liverpool side of things. So that's probably what I would do. William saying, Davey, I've triple captained Morpay. Thoughts on that? Take the risk for the chalk risk. So if I'm not going to triple captain Human Son, I probably won't advocate triple captaining Morpay. But if you want to go for it, I mean, I can only commend you. I always like when people go out of the box, but I think that might be a little bit too out of the box, unfortunately. Hold TAA or Saiz. I would probably hold TAA. I just think Saiz, there's a rotation risk there. There is a chance of him being benched again, especially with Marcel coming back from that injury he's had. It's just the whole situation with that 5 at the back that Wolves play. So they have 3 centre backs, they have those wing backs, and when I look at Saiz, I just don't think of him as a wing back, and I just don't think that that's how he plays. And with the form that Kilman's in, I think the only chance that Saiz is going to be playing is if either they're playing a really attacking side and they want to play super defensive, or what I would do is if Kilman drops off of form and then Saiz could just slot in there. Kilman or Taylor, I would go for Kilman in that case. I don't really have much faith in the Burnley defense. I simply just want to play him over Coleman, just because I think that there might be a little bit more of a bigger chance there of a clean sheet than the United game. Watch me be wrong actually in this one. 4 minutes till the deadline, as Optimus Prime is saying there. Which two do I play between Basuma, Lamptey, and Taylor? I would go for Lamptey and Taylor and just hope for a 0-0. Be like me last game week when I owned Aston Villa and Southampton defenders, and it ended up being 4-3, so I got basically no points from them. So you can just hit a Davey this week. Thanks, Davey. Zaha thoughts. So I like Zaha as well. I think I just favor Grealish at the moment. For this game week, if you're going to be going for a once-off, Zaha's the better option. But if you're looking at the longevity of that transfer, Grealish definitely has the better fixtures, and I just favor him as a FPL option a little bit more. Wilson or Calvert-Lewin, I would go for Calvert-Lewin. A little bit biased as an owner there. I think Callum Wilson is great value, but I think that Calvert-Lewin on his day, just probably going to do it. G-Bell saying, how's it, Davey? Been a while. Has been a while, but when you return, I can always see you there with that purple star that you have next to your name. So appreciate you joining in the stream, buddy. Why is Ryan not starting anymore? So I think it was a little bit of a dropping there for him last game week. I know the manager came out and said that it was kind of just because he's played a lot of minutes in the last couple years, which is a really weird thing to say. But basically, I think he kind of wanted to cover up that he was dropped. But I think that I just wanted to give him a break, maybe for some mindset reset. And I think that he's definitely going to. I don't want to say definitely, but I think that he will play this week because I don't think the fact that they were conceding so many was down to him. Thoughts on Salah in for Mane and take a hit? So I wouldn't do that for a hit. The Man City game is really hard to predict. I mean, Mane could do better in that one, and it's a very sideways move to do for a hit. So I would only say do Salah in for Mane if you have no other options to do, no fires to put out, and you just want to kind of burn a transfer, because that's, unless you're going to captain Salah, I don't think that's worth it. What's your plan for Podence and Jimenez? I'm pretty much going to keep them probably for the Southampton game, and then I'll take them out after that. So what I could do maybe next game week is take out Raul Jimenez, bring in someone like Callum Wilson, and then upgrade Podence to Diego Jota, who I think is going to be quite an FPL favorite if he manages to start. Mane probably going to get a red card against Man City. That classic gift of Mane kicking Edison in the face. Yeah, I remember that day very vividly, because we got absolutely demolished after that. But hopefully he doesn't get a red card there. Davey, why aren't you starting Coleman? I believe he's fit. So I do think he's fit. I don't know how fit he is, but I would rather play one of these other options than Coleman, because it is United. And I just don't think that Everton defense is that good that they can hold out United. I mean, I'm probably going to be wrong, and someone will clip this and post it to me on Twitter. But I'm just a little bit more confident in maybe a Taylor clean sheet there. Most likely clean sheet, Southampton or Burnley. I think Burnley. I think Southampton if I had to pick between those two. But it wouldn't surprise me if both of them didn't keep a clean sheet this week, unfortunately. There is 1 minute to the deadline, so please just make sure those teams are in. I'm going to refresh it, and I think the clock just hit. So I did end up making that transfer, and we were on the Son captain. So hopefully you guys did manage to get your transfers in. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be having some people on Twitter later say that they completely missed the deadline, and that's going to make me quite sad. But maybe they had a good bus team. But unfortunately, that is the deadline there, guys. So good luck to all of you that are entering this game week. I don't really know why you were watching the stream if you aren't. So hopefully Son returns for us this week. I know that this has been the second game week that we've put our faith into him. Last game week ended up with a measly 2 points, but maybe this week it can be 2 hat-tricks there. So 6 goals for Son. But hopefully it's just the green arrow at this stage. I'll take a green arrow any day of the week. And these fixtures are a little bit tough there. So thanks for joining in the stream, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. And press a like before you leave, says Luazi there. So if you want to drop a like before you leave, that will be appreciated. But you guys just joining in and communicating with me in the chat is perfectly fine as well. So good luck for this game week. Hopefully it's a miraculous recovery there, and we get a 5 million green arrow, and we're sitting at -1 or something come game week 9. But I'll be checking you guys over on my Twitter at DavyFPL, or otherwise in the videos coming up. Probably not next week. It is an international break after this week, so I'll probably be taking that week off, and then I'll return with the videos in that week before the game week 9 deadline. So enjoy the break, guys, and I'll be checking you guys later.